There's two things we can all agree on about dashcams. First is that they are absolutely necessary if you've ever been in or witnessed an accident, which, statistically speaking, is you and everyone you know. The second is that regardless of the price, they all look pretty terrible. Even when I picked a winner 3 years ago, there were absolutely edge cases where it clearly fell short.
And I know short.
But technology marches ever onward, right? So we bought today's best-selling and most highly reviewed dashcams to see if finally I can be satisfied. Are there features other than image quality that'll make a difference to our top choice? Do you basically get what you pay for? Or are there some diamonds in the rough? And how is it that this one costs 30 times as much as this one? So many questions. Like, how will I segue to our sponsor?
Like this.
Previously on the Coding Chronicles.
Come with me!
Where am I?
In the realm of boot.dev!
Web development.
That's the skill that's gonna land me a high-paying job, right? Watch to the end for a new episode.
As you might expect, deploying 10 dash cameras at once for a review means we needed a large windshield and a good power source. We settled on our work truck, a Ford F-150 with a Sabrent 16-in-1 USB hub plugged into a Jackery Explorer 2000 Pro. Due to the long wiring runs and the importance of not losing power to any of our cameras, we used 9 of our new 4-meter LTT cables, available now at lttstore.com. Now it is worth noting that some of our dash cams included additional rear or interior cameras for multi-channel operation. These can be super handy for rear-enders and passenger-related incidents. However, they're always lower resolution than the front camera, so our image quality comparisons are going to focus on the primary. With that out of the way, our first 3 contestants are, oh lordy, how am I supposed to pronounce this? Maybe it doesn't matter. All 3 are attractively priced, around $50 to $100 on promo, so I think I can forgive them for being a little lighter on the features and a little higher on the jank and weird names, like this box. To Jan Vim's credit, they do at least have a website, but the box for their 2-channel camera system includes instructions that appear to be for a completely different brand, Janwold.
Who are you?
Stepping up a little bit in price, we get the 3-channel Suvcon. Aside from an additional camera, its main standout feature is the inclusion of HDR or high dynamic range, but at this price, using a low-tier image sensor, it may be combining multiple exposures to better capture the brightest and darkest parts of a scene, but it's unlikely to be doing so well. Finally, there's the 4-channel Aiwi. Its main claim to fame is lots and lots of cameras, front, back, and 2 of these funky flexible ones that can pan and tilt 180 degrees. Since the main unit is so wide, we had to mount it a little lower on the windshield, but for anyone who isn't running 10 dash cams, that probably won't be a problem. It's the first to include Wi-Fi, and it also ships with a 128 gig card, helping propel it to the 4th best-selling dash cam on Amazon. If only that were an indication of quality. It claims to have WDR, but dashcam manufacturers use terms like HDR and WDR pretty loosely. So why don't we talk about what they mean? Newer tech, like Sony's Clear HDR on their Starvis 2 sensors, captures 2 different images, one high gain and one low gain for post-processing, which can add a little bit of noise and clarity loss, but can produce an overall more detailed image. The Starvis 2 also supports digital overlap HDR, which uses sequential short and then long exposures, which can add motion blur. Which of these implementations gets used can significantly affect quality. And we've also found cases where HDR claims are made with absolutely no evidence of them doing either of those things. Then there's WDR. In theory, it performs the same function as HDR, using hardware and software to capture and combine multiple near-simultaneous exposures for a more balanced image. This is to help preserve detail in both the highlights and in the shadows. However, many vendors use digital WDR, a cheaper, less effective solution that uses only software to adjust shadows and highlights. So we're not going to pay too much attention to these feature claims because real-world image quality is what matters. Let's take a look. All 3 of our under $100 cameras are pretty much equal at reading license plates in motion. Equally bad. If I had to choose one, maybe the IWI has the better overall image quality. The sky isn't quite as overexposed, and the power lines are more visible here. The Suvcon manages a pretty pleasing image with a vibrant blue sky and green grass, and they all look pretty equal to me for the legibility of the van's letters here. Moving on to Twilight, the IWI has the best static focus, with the 198 sign being the most clear out of the three. But while the Yonvim's lack of even pretend HDR results in the sky being darker than the other two, it comes out ahead on the readability of the truck's letters here when it drives by, and that's because of its higher 30 FPS capture. The Suvcon, meanwhile, is unremarkable in our Twilight test. Moving on to nighttime, this footage is very interesting. Again, the Yonvim, with its higher frame rate, wins the day with the clearest image. The 151.9 price on the street sign is more legible than the others, and as for the Suvcon, it's definitely the loser here, with out of focus and blurry video. After testing all the lower tier and cheaper cameras then, our top pick kind of depends on your needs. For capturing motion video, we recommend the Yonvim. However, if your main priority is parking surveillance mode, the IWI is substantially more expensive, but likely a better fit, recording with nearly 360-degree coverage. Both use a sticker-style mount though, and if you prefer a reusable suction cup, then the Suvcon might stand out for that reason. Realistically, none of them wowed me though, raising the question, could I just get the basic functionality that I need for less? Let's find out by tightening our budget and taking a look at the $19 Maquils dashcam. It's not especially well reviewed, it's not especially popular, but 19 bucks is 19 bucks. So if this thing is any good, we could save our viewers anywhere from 3 to 4 Happy Meals. Unfortunately, it's not good. The cheap plastic mount broke before we could even install it, and the packaging is so generic that it literally says brand on it. What the hell is 1296p? As for the image quality, ugh. I mean, I know it's cheap, but like, remember how there was text on the side of this van here? And this is our daylight clip. Moving on to Twilight, it's even worse. That doesn't sparkle at all. As for nighttime, no wonder they call it brand. In conclusion, there's a minimum floor for what you should probably spend on a dashcam. But is there a maximum? Let's juice up our budget and see if this trio of 4K cameras is worth the extra money or not extra money. See, in theory, these are priced anywhere from $100 to $200, but all of them were available on a discount, putting them pretty much in direct competition with the IWI. Bad news for the IWI, because instead of mystery meat image sensors, all of our next tier cameras boast a Sony Starvis 2 sensor. With that said, not all Starvis 2s are made equal. So it's kind of like saying a gaming PC uses GeForce. Which one? Well, Red Tiger wouldn't tell us, but it doesn't seem to be holding back their sales. The F7NP is the #3 bestseller on Amazon with dual channel recording, and a front camera that boasts up to 4K 30 or 1080p 120 FPS. However, despite achieving 4K 30 FPS during our daylight test, our camera automatically and without warning dropped to 25 FPS for twilight and nighttime shots. More like red kitten. Our second $100+ model was the Rove R2 4K Dual. This was Amazon's second best-selling dashcam when we bought it, and despite its confusing name, it is not, in fact, a dual 4K camera. The rear camera is only 1080p. But on paper, the value is still there, with an IMX675 primary sensor, not to mention some nice extras like a free 128GB micro SD card. The final camera in this group is the JZone's V630. It also claims to use a Starvis IMX675 and is the only 3-channel camera in this group, which could be a nice extra value. On top of that, they claim to have a lifetime warranty. But good luck with that, everybody. Right away, these cameras stand out from our budget options, with the Rove achieving better daylight performance with clearer license plates than the Red Tiger. The JZones, meanwhile, seems overexposed here. While the Rove shows sun flare, it manages to keep the van's letters slightly clearer. In our twilight video, the Rove again comes out in front with a still image that has little flare
and better detail in dark areas.
It even focuses well on the smaller text next to the 198 on the street sign. We can clearly see the YAC letters on the side of the truck with the Rove, but the Red Tiger and the JZones struggle to give us a clear picture. At night, however, the Red Tiger wakes up, beating the Rove in sharpness on the gas price sign. With that said, none of these are miracle products, and all 3 of them can't seem to focus well on the license plates here. The JZones seems to particularly struggle at night. Once again then, the right camera is going to depend on your needs. if nighttime is your top priority, or if you like a nice compact camera unit, Red Tiger might be worth a look. But we liked the Rove overall better for its well-rounded performance and its inclusion of both a sticker and suction cup mount. If an additional recording channel is a must-have for you and you absolutely can't spend more, then the J-Zones isn't terrible either, but it didn't really stand out. Now, it's time to move up in the world. We're getting to the big dogs. Not in terms of price, but in terms of reputation. The Viofo A329T Mini 2 costs just $10 more than that last trio and was named Best Bang for Your Buck by Dashcam Talk in both 2024 and 2025. And I can really see why they like this thing. It is super compact, just like the name says, which is great for minimizing distractions, and it features a tiny 1.5-inch diagonal screen and records at a middle-of-the-road 2592 by 1944 resolution, which is, in my opinion, more than enough. But with competitors doing 1440p 60, I am a little disappointed to see it limited to just 30 frames per second. Also, it's just single channel, and neither of the Viofo cameras that we checked out come with SD cards, so you'll need to adjust your budget accordingly. With all of that said, the image quality is just obviously better than anything we've seen so far. In our daytime shots, there's no overexposure on the sun and clouds, and the power lines are totally visible. The truck's writing is quite clear too. The squarish 4:3 aspect ratio is probably going to be a love it or hate it thing, but I personally think that it's pretty cool. Clarity is great at dusk too. The 198 street sign is legible, and the letters on the side of the truck are very focused. Not much to complain about here, but just be aware of where you install it. Maybe avoid the side of the windshield where we had ours, and you'll likely get even better results. Finally, this is a very clear night video. The signs are focused, and the license plate on the car in front of us is a little challenging to read, but it isn't overexposed. This is pretty much a best case scenario. We really like this camera and can comfortably recommend it if you want a quality single camera solution and you don't need some of the extras that we saw earlier. Also, Viofo, they might have a gibberish Amazon brand name, but they've been around long enough to build a reputation for actually having post-sale support, which is easily worth a few bucks extra to me. But what if you wanted to spend a lot more than a few bucks extra? That's where the Thinkware U3000 comes in. This is another Dashcam Talk recommendation that I just had to see for myself. $380 for a Dashcam? And I need to use their special snowflake power cable instead of standard USB? This thing better be pretty special. And it kind of is. It's loaded with features, though it's up to you whether those features are important. One of the most interesting to me is the audible advanced driver assistance systems, such as lane departure warning, which if you have an older vehicle that doesn't include that, well, this is a pretty low budget way to add it. And for power efficiency, the camera uses front and rear radar to monitor motion in parking mode. As for image quality, it's good, but didn't blow us away either. Good focus on the license plates for the cars in front of us, but the sky here is overexposed and the power wires are being lost in the sun. There is clarity on the van's words though, and the color saturation is surprisingly good, if that matters for your use case. In our twilight shot, the 198 sign is very clear, as is the smaller text next to it. However, we have seen clearer shots of the YAC letters on the truck in motion. It is still usable though. Finally, nighttime quality was pretty disappointing, with overexposure on the signs and license plates. The gasoline price is blurry, and it looks like it reads 161 instead of 151. Giving me nightmares here, you guys. Overall, this has a lot of extra features, but its video quality is a bit of a mixed bag, making it pretty hard to recommend for pure dashcam use. I'd almost rather have one of our budget multi-channel kits plus an A329T Mini 2 for its better forward-facing image quality. That is, unless there was a way to have it all in one kit. That is the promise of the Viofo A329T. It is at the very high end of our price range, but it's unique with two separate front-facing cameras. The main front camera records 4K at 60 FPS with HDR off, or 30 FPS with HDR on like we recorded. The secondary camera is a 4X optical zoom telephoto unit, and adding to its bag of tricks, this camera supports an external SSD for more reliable recording. But for $600, I better see image quality that absolutely blows my mind, and all right, consider my mind blown. I can clearly see both license plates on the cars in front of us. There's no overexposure in the sky, and the power lines are clearly visible in the bright sun. All the writing on the side of the truck is legible, even the smallest text. And this is the telephoto lens. Wow, that's awesome. I can clearly see all 3 of those cars' license plates. And something that no other camera even came close to, check out the license plate on the van. We could have aimed the camera a bit higher, but it's still great. Moving to twilight, again, this is the clearest video of this intersection we've seen. The 198 sign is super clear, and the 56th Avenue Cross Street sign is also legible. Wow. The license plate on the truck is almost legible here too, but that part of the image is too small. And the YAC text is blurry here as well. Pulling out the telephoto though, look at that license plate on the truck. This image is so clear that we can see it before it gets to the intersection. The YAC letters are still blurry with this lens though. Finally, at night, we once again get great video capture. The signs are clear and the license plate on the car in front is totally legible. That's not even the money shot yet. Here's the telephoto at nighttime. Not only is the gas station price crystal clear, but look at those license plates. At night, it clearly captures all the plates in the same lane as us, and we even get somewhat usable images of plates in the opposite lane. That is quite remarkable. So this is one of those times when you clearly get what you pay for, even if you're paying a lot. In summary then, if simply proving fault in an accident is your main concern, an affordable HD camera will probably do you just fine. If you need to catch key details, like a license plate after a hit and run, you'll definitely want to spend extra on a 4K resolution dash cam with the highest frame rate you can get. And if you want extra bells or whistles, like ADAS or cloud storage, there are some good options out there, but you might end up opening your wallet more than you might have thought to get one that also offers compelling image quality. Tell us what's important to you guys in a dash cam and leave a comment below. Are you looking for image quality first or features? Or is it just enough video to prove that you weren't at fault? Are you maybe looking for a segue? To our
Quick, shh, it's about to start. All the way.
The Coding Chronicles.
Thanks for bringing me to the realm of boot.dev, but are you sure this is the best way to learn Python, Boots the Bear Wizard?
Of course I'm sure. You wanted to get rich quick, right? We're just skipping right to the hard stuff so you can land a high-paying job faster.
I think I should start with the basics!
What, did you think learning to code would be fun, you petulant child? You will learn to code the hard way. Like I had to.
Stop, help! Huh?
No, it can't be.
Wait, you're not? Then how?
No!
Who are you?
My name is Boots. And learning to code is fun with boot.dev.
If you guys enjoyed this video, check out our recent webcam roundup. It's not the most glamorous of work, but someone's got to do it.